My mother-in-law looked at me across the dinner table and said something that made everyone laugh. "You're not the same woman my son married." I laughed too, until she leaned closer and whispered, "Tell me, where is the real Emma?" The first time my mother-in-law said it, everyone thought she was joking. We were sitting around the dinner table, soft lighting, polished silverware, the kind of quiet, comfortable evening that feels carefully arranged. Daniel was talking about work, something about a new client, and I was half listening, stirring my coffee absent-mindedly. Then Victoria set her fork down. The sound was soft, precise. She looked at me, not casually, not politely, but with a kind of focus that made my skin tighten. "You've been holding your cup like that lately," she said. I blinked. "Like what?" "With your left hand." I glanced down at my fingers wrapped around the porcelain. A small laugh escaped me. "So?" She tilted her head slightly. "Emma has always been right-handed." There was a brief pause, just long enough for the air to shift. Daniel chuckled. "Mom, come on." But Victoria didn't smile. I switched the cup to my right hand, suddenly aware of how deliberate the movement felt. There. Problem solved. A few polite laughs followed, the kind people use to smooth over something uncomfortable. But she kept watching me. Not like a mother-in-law observing a daughter-in-law. Like a scientist observing a mistake. Later that evening I stood alone in the bathroom, staring at my reflection. The lighting was warm, flattering even. My hair fell exactly the way I remembered it always had. My face familiar. Completely normal. And yet, I lifted my left hand slowly, mimicking the way I had held the cup. It felt natural. Too natural. I frowned and reached for the sink with my right hand this time, forcing myself to turn on the faucet. The motion felt slightly off, like writing with the wrong hand in childhood. That was ridiculous. I shook my head, letting out a quiet breath. "You're overthinking," I whispered to myself. Still, I tried to remember. Had I always been right-handed? Of course I had. Haven't I? When I stepped out into the hallway, Victoria was standing there. I hadn't heard her approach. She leaned lightly against the wall, her posture relaxed, but her eyes sharp, too sharp. "Do you remember the lake house?" she asked. The question caught me off guard. "What?" "The one Daniel took you to. Your honeymoon." Her voice was soft, almost gentle. "You told me it rained the entire weekend." I opened my mouth, closed it. A faint image flickered in my mind, water against glass maybe. Or was that something else? Yeah," I said slowly. "It rained." She smiled. Not warmly, not kindly, just knowingly. "That's interesting," she said. A chill slid down my spine. "Why?" Victoria stepped closer, just enough that I could smell her perfume. Something light, floral, controlled. "Because," she whispered, "you told me the sun never came out once." I blinked. "That's the same thing." "No," she said quietly. "It isn't." For a moment neither of us moved. Then Daniel's voice called from the living room, breaking the tension. "Emma? Are you coming?" I turned instinctively. "Yeah, just a second." When I looked back, Victoria had already straightened. The expression was gone, replaced by something polite, ordinary. But as she walked past me, she leaned just close enough for me to hear her murmur, "Small details matter." That night I couldn't sleep. Daniel lay beside me, breathing evenly, one arm draped loosely across the bed. Everything about him felt steady, familiar, safe. But my mind kept circling back. Left hand, right hand, rain, sun, details. I turned onto my side, staring into the darkness. And for the first time since I could remember, I wasn't completely sure of myself. Not in a vague, anxious way, but in something deeper, something colder. As if somewhere just beneath the surface of who I was, there was a missing piece. And someone else had already noticed. The next morning I woke up before Daniel. It wasn't unusual. I've always been an early riser, at least I think I have. The house was quiet in that heavy, still way that makes every small sound feel louder. The clock in the hallway ticked. Pipes shifted faintly behind the walls. Somewhere downstairs I thought I heard a door close. But when I listened harder there was nothing. I slipped out of bed carefully and walked into the kitchen. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, soft and pale. The kind of morning that should feel peaceful. Instead, it felt staged. I reached for the coffee pot without thinking. And then I stopped. My hand hovered mid-air. Left or right? The question felt ridiculous. And yet, I hesitated long enough for it to matter. I forced a small laugh under my breath and grabbed the handle with my right hand. See? I murmured. Normal. But the word didn't sit right. I poured the coffee and took a sip. Too bitter. I frowned and instinctively reached for the sugar. One spoon. Then another. I stirred, watching the liquid swirl. Something tugged at the back of my mind. A memory or the shape of one. I froze. Did I always take 2 sugars? Or was it 1? I stood there, staring into the cup like it might answer me. You used to hate sugar. The voice came from behind me. I turned too quickly. Coffee sloshing slightly over the rim. Victoria stood in the doorway. Perfectly composed. Perfectly still. I didn't hear you come in, I said. She didn't respond to that. Her gaze dropped to the cup in my hands. Emma drank her coffee black, she continued calmly. Said sugar ruined the taste. I forced a small smile. People change. Not that much. Her tone wasn't accusatory. That would have been easier. It was observational. Clinical. I set the cup down slowly. It's just coffee. Victoria stepped into the kitchen, her heels making soft, deliberate sounds against the floor. Is it? She asked. I crossed my arms, suddenly aware of how defensive I looked. Why are you doing this? She stopped a few feet away from me, close enough that I could see the fine lines around her eyes, close enough to feel like I was being examined. I'm not doing anything, she said. I'm noticing. Noticing what? A pause. Then, inconsistencies. The word landed heavier than it should have. I let out a short breath. You're overthinking. Seriously. Am I? Her head tilted slightly, the same way it had the night before. Tell me something simple, she said. Your birthday. I blinked. What? Your birthday, she repeated. Say it. That's ridiculous. Say it. There was something in her voice now, not louder, but firmer, like she was testing the strength of a thread she already knew was fraying. I swallowed. March 12th. Victoria's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes sharpened. Interesting, she said softly. My stomach tightened. What is that supposed to mean? She took another step closer. Because, she said, her voice dropping just enough to make it feel like a secret. Emma's birthday is March 21st. The room seemed to tilt slightly. That's not, I started, but the words caught in my throat. March 12th. March 21st. One of them was wrong. And for the first time, I didn't know which one. I didn't correct her. I couldn't. Because the moment Victoria said it, March 21 st, something inside my chest shifted. Not like I had been proven wrong, but like I had been exposed. I think you're mistaken, I said finally, though my voice sounded thinner than I intended. Victoria studied me for a long second. Then slowly she smiled. Of course, she said. That must be it. But the smile didn't reach her eyes. Daniel came into the kitchen a moment later, still half asleep, running a hand through his hair. Morning, he muttered, heading straight for the coffee. I stepped back slightly as he passed me, suddenly aware of the space between us. Normal. Everything needed to feel normal. Your mom thinks I don't know my own birthday, I said lightly, forcing a small laugh. Daniel paused, glancing between us. Victoria said nothing. She simply watched. What? He said, confused. March 12th, I replied quickly. That's my birthday. There was a flicker, just a flicker of hesitation in his expression. So small most people wouldn't notice it. But I did. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. Yeah, he said after a beat. Of course. Too fast. Too careful. My stomach tightened. Victoria turned away then, as if the conversation had already ended for her. I have errands to run, she said calmly. Try not to overthink things. The words felt deliberate, directed. Then she left the kitchen. The front door closed. Silence followed. I turned to Daniel slowly. What was that? He shrugged, reaching for a mug. She's just being. Mom. That wasn't normal. She gets like this sometimes, he said, avoiding my eyes. You know how she is. No, I said quietly. I don't. He sighed, clearly not wanting to engage. Emma, it's nothing. Seriously. Nothing. That word again. I stared at him for a moment longer, searching his face for something, anything that felt solid. But all I found was distance. Later that afternoon, I found myself standing outside Victoria's bedroom door. I hadn't planned to come here. My feet had just brought me. The hallway was empty. Quiet. The door was slightly open. Just enough. I hesitated, then pushed it gently. Her room was immaculate. Everything in place. Bed perfectly made. Curtains drawn just enough to let in soft light. The faint scent of her perfume lingered in the air. It didn't feel like a bedroom. It felt like a space that was controlled, curated. I stepped inside slowly, my eyes scanning. Nothing obvious. Nothing strange. Until I noticed the nightstand. The bottom drawer was slightly misaligned. Barely noticeable. But enough. I crouched down and pulled it open. Inside, neatly arranged, were folders. Thin. Labeled. My fingers hovered for a moment before I picked one up. E. Just that. No full name. No date. Just a single letter. My chest tightened. I opened it. Photos. Dozens of them. All of me. Or Emma. Smiling at the camera. Talking. Sitting. Walking. Normal moments. But the angles were wrong. Too far away. Too hidden. Like they had been taken without permission. My breath slowed. Beneath the photos were pages. Notes. Handwritten. Precise. Detailed. Subject uses right hand predominantly. Prefers coffee without sugar. Laughs softly, covers mouth when nervous. My fingers trembled as I flipped through them. This wasn't memory. This was observation. Documentation. Like someone had been studying a version of me. Or comparing one. A sound behind me. I froze. The floor creaked softly. Not loud. But enough. I turned slowly. Victoria stood in the doorway. Watching. Completely still. You shouldn't be in here, she said. Her voice was calm. Too calm. I tightened my grip on the folder. What is this? She didn't answer right away. Her eyes dropped to the papers in my hands. Then back to my face. And for the first time, there was no pretense left in her expression. Only certainty. That, she said quietly, is how I know you're not her. I didn't move. The folder was still in my hands, the edges pressing into my fingers hard enough to hurt. But I barely felt it. What do you mean? I'm not her. I asked. My voice sounded distant. Like it belonged to someone else. Victoria stepped into the room and closed the door behind her with a soft click. The sound echoed louder than it should have. You've already seen the notes, she said. You've seen the photos. That doesn't mean anything. I snapped, though the words came out weaker than I intended. You could have written those any time. She tilted her head slightly. Could I? I swallowed. This is insane. Is it? Her calmness was unbearable. I took a step back, clutching the folder tighter. You've been spying on me. That's what this is. You're what, obsessed? Controlling. No, she said quietly. Careful. The word landed wrong. I shook my head. You don't get to just decide I'm not your daughter-in-law because I changed how I drink coffee. It's not the coffee. Then what is it? I demanded. For a moment she said nothing. Then she walked past me. Slowly. Deliberately. Toward the dresser on the other side of the room. I watched as she opened the top drawer and pulled something out. A photograph. She turned and held it out to me. Look, she said. I hesitated. Then took it. It was a picture of me and Daniel. Standing in front of a lake. Sunlight reflecting off the water. We were smiling, arms around each other, close, comfortable. Happy. My chest tightened. I remember this, I said quickly. This was our honeymoon. Victoria didn't respond. I looked closer. At my own face. At my posture. At the way I stood beside him. Something felt off. Not wrong. Just unfamiliar. That's Emma, Victoria said softly. I frowned. That's me. No, she said. That's her. A chill crept up my spine. I looked again. The smile in the photo was softer than I expected. More natural. The way her head tilted toward Daniel, it was subtle, instinctive, effortless. I tried to imagine myself standing like that. And for some reason, I couldn't. "You're imagining things," I said, handing the photo back too quickly. "People change. Expressions change." Victoria took the photo but didn't look at it. Her eyes stayed on me. "Then answer something simple," she said. I let out a frustrated breath. "What now? What did Daniel say to you the night he proposed?" The question hit me like a sudden drop. I opened my mouth, closed it. A memory flickered. A ring. A restaurant. Candlelight. But the words were gone. He said. I started. Nothing came. Not even a fragment. Just a blank space where something important should have been. My heart began to pound. "It was a long time ago," I said quickly. "People don't remember exact words." Victoria took a step closer. "Yes, they do." Her voice was softer now. Not accusing. Not mocking. Just certain. "Especially that moment." I felt my chest tighten. "I remember how I felt," I insisted. "That's what matters." "Then describe it." "I was happy." "How?" I froze. The question sounded simple, but my mind wouldn't cooperate. I tried again. Nothing. No detail. No image. No feeling strong enough to hold on to. Just emptiness. Victoria watched me struggle. And slowly, very slowly, she nodded. "As I thought," she murmured. Anger flared suddenly, sharp and desperate. "This proves nothing." I snapped. "You're twisting things, making it sound worse than it is." "Am I?" "Yes." "Then explain the gap." "What gap?" She met my eyes. Steady. Unblinking. "The part of your life you can't remember," she said. The room seemed to shrink. "What are you talking about?" Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "The months before you came back to us." A cold wave washed over me. "Came back." I repeated. Victoria's gaze didn't waver. "You disappeared, Emma," she said quietly. My pulse roared in my ears. "That's not true." "Isn't it?" I shook my head, backing away. No, I've been here. I've always been here." But even as I said it, something inside me hesitated. Just for a second. Just long enough. Victoria saw it. And that was all she needed. "You don't even remember being gone," she said. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Suffocating. Then she added, almost gently, "That's because you weren't the one who came back." I stumbled back until the edge of the bed hit behind my knees. "That's not possible," I said. But the words came out hollow. Victoria didn't argue. She didn't need to. She simply watched me. Like she had been waiting for this moment. "For 3 months," she said quietly. "You were gone." My head shook automatically. "No. Daniel told everyone you needed space. That you went to stay with a friend." I stopped. A memory surfaced. Or something like one. A packed suitcase. A goodbye at the door. Daniel's arms around me. But the details were blurred like a photograph out of focus. "I remember leaving," I said quickly. "See? I wasn't gone, I just—" "Where did you go?" Her voice cut through mine. Clean. Precise. I opened my mouth. Nothing. No city. No house. No friend's name. Just that same empty space. My stomach dropped. "I was somewhere," I said, weaker now. Victoria took a slow step closer. "Try harder." "I am trying." "Then tell me." Her eyes locked onto mine. Unrelenting. "Where were you?" My pulse pounded in my ears. I searched desperately for anything solid. A street. A face. A voice. Nothing came. Just fragments that dissolved the moment I reached for them. "I don't know," I whispered. The admission felt like something breaking. Victoria exhaled softly. Not surprised. Not satisfied. Just confirmed. "Exactly," she said. I shook my head, panic rising fast now. There could be a reason. Trauma, stress. People forget things. "Yes," she agreed. "They forget details." Her gaze sharpened. "They don't forget entire months." The room felt too small. Too tight. I pushed past her, suddenly needing space, needing air. This is insane, I muttered, stepping into the hallway. I'm not doing this. Emma. I stopped. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried something that made me freeze anyway. Slowly I turned back. She stood in the doorway, one hand resting lightly against the frame. You should look in the basement, she said. A cold sensation slid down my spine. Why? A pause. Then, because that's where he brought you back. The words didn't make sense. Not completely, but they settled somewhere deep inside me, like they belonged. Who? I asked. Victoria held my gaze. My son. My chest tightened. That's not funny. I'm not joking. He wouldn't. I stopped. Wouldn't what? Wouldn't lie? Wouldn't hide something? Wouldn't bring something into this house? My thoughts tangled, slipping through my grasp. You trust him, Victoria said. It wasn't a question. Yes, I said immediately. Too immediately. Her expression didn't change. Then ask him, she said. I turned toward the stairs, my mind racing. Daniel. I needed to hear it from him. Needed him to laugh this off, to explain, to ground me in something real. 'Cause right now, nothing felt real. I found him in the living room, sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone like nothing had changed. Like everything was normal. Daniel. He looked up. Smiled slightly. Hey, everything okay? The question felt wrong. Everything okay? I stared at him. At his familiar face. His familiar voice. And suddenly, I wasn't sure how well I actually knew him. What happened 3 months ago? I asked. His smile faltered. Just slightly. What do you mean? I mean, I said, my voice tightening. Where did I go? He stared at me. Too long. Too still. I told you, he said finally. You needed time. You left. That's not what I asked. A pause. Then, Emma. Something in his tone shifted. Careful. Measured. Like he was choosing his next words very, very carefully. And in that moment, I realized something that made my blood run cold. He wasn't confused. He wasn't surprised. He was prepared. Daniel, I said slowly, did you bring me back here? Silence filled the room. Heavy. Unavoidable. He didn't answer right away. And that was the answer. Daniel didn't answer. He just sat there staring at me. His expression caught somewhere between concern and calculation. Say something, I demanded. He rubbed his face slowly like he was buying time. Emma, you're not making sense. Then help me make sense of it. My voice cracked sharper than I intended. Your mother thinks I disappeared. She thinks I'm not me. And you? I pointed at him. You're acting like this is normal. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Silence. Again. Too much silence. I took a step closer. Look at me, I said. He did. And for a second, just 1 second, I saw something slip through. Fear. Not for me. Of me. My chest tightened. Why are you looking at me like that? I whispered. I'm not, he said quickly. You are. I'm just worried about you. No, I said, shaking my head. That's not worry. I stepped even closer now, close enough to see the tension in his jaw, the way his fingers curled slightly against his leg. That's recognition, I said quietly. His breath hitched. The room felt suddenly smaller. He stood up. Not aggressively, but not casually either. Just enough to put distance between us. Emma, you need to calm down. The words landed wrong. Again. Stop saying my name like that. I snapped. Like what? Like you're not sure it belongs to me. He froze. Just for a second. But it was enough. Okay, I said slowly. Let's try something simple. He didn't respond. Our honeymoon, I continued. The lake house. His eyes flickered. Yeah, he said cautiously. What did you say to me the night you proposed? A pause. Too long. Then he exhaled softly. Why are we doing this? Because I don't remember, I said. The words felt like they tore something open inside me. I don't remember what you said. I don't remember where I was for 3 months. And right now my voice dropped. I don't even remember how I know you. That last part hung in the air. Heavy. Impossible to take back. Daniel stared at me. And this time, he didn't try to hide it. The fear was clear now. Real. Unfiltered. You shouldn't say things like that, he said quietly. Why not? Because it's not true. Then prove it. Another silence. And this one felt final. You don't want the truth, he said at last. My stomach twisted. Try me. He hesitated, then shook his head. Not like this. Then how? No answer. Of course. Something inside me snapped. I turned away from him abruptly. Your mother said to check the basement. Emma. I didn't stop. Is that where you brought me back? Stop. I reached the hallway. Emma, listen to me. No, I said, my voice steady now in a way that scared even me. I think I've been listening to the wrong person this whole time. The basement door stood at the end of the hall. Closed. Ordinary. But suddenly it didn't feel ordinary. It felt like a boundary. A line. The kind you don't cross unless you're ready to lose something. Or find something worse. Behind me I heard his footsteps. Fast. Closing in. Don't go down there, he said. Not angry. Not commanding. Desperate. I stopped. My hand resting on the doorknob. Why? I asked. He didn't answer immediately. And that hesitation, that tiny fatal hesitation, told me everything. I looked back at him one last time. At the man I thought I knew. The man who now looked like a stranger standing in my house. Tell me the truth, I said. His lips parted slightly, but no words came. So I stepped inside and started down the stairs. The stairs creaked under my weight. Each step felt louder than it should have, the sound echoing up the narrow walls behind me. The air grew colder the further I descended, thick, stale, like it hadn't been disturbed in a long time. I didn't turn on the light at first. I don't know why. Maybe part of me was afraid of what I'd see. Or worse, afraid I'd recognize it. Emma, stop. Daniel's voice came from above me. Tense. Urgent. Closer than before. I didn't look back. If you don't want me to see it, I said quietly, then you should have told me the truth. A pause. Then. It's not that simple. It never is. My foot touched the basement floor. Concrete. Cold. I reached out and flipped the switch. The lights flickered once, twice, then came on. The space was larger than I expected. Not cluttered. Not like a typical basement. Everything was arranged. Organized. Too clean. Too intentional. A long table stood in the center. Metal. Reflective. Beside it, cabinets, drawers, shelves lined with boxes. Each one labeled in neat, precise handwriting. My breath slowed. This wasn't storage. This was a workspace. Behind me, Daniel stepped down onto the last stair. He didn't come closer. Didn't try to stop me anymore. Emma, he said quietly, please. I ignored him. My eyes moved across the room, searching, trying to make sense of the details. Then I saw it. A camera, mounted high in the corner, pointed directly at the table. My stomach dropped. What is this place? I asked. Daniel didn't answer. Of course he didn't. I walked toward the table slowly, each step careful, measured, like I was approaching something fragile or dangerous. There were marks on the surface, faint scratches, lines, not random, repeated, like something or someone had been restrained there. My fingers hovered just above the metal. I didn't want to touch it, but I couldn't stop myself. It was cold, too cold. A sound behind me, Daniel shifting, restless. Don't, he said. Too late. I turned toward the cabinets, pulled one open. Inside were files, dozens of them, each one labeled. Dates, codes, initials. My chest tightened. I grabbed one at random, opened it. Photos, clinical, controlled. A woman sitting in a chair, facing the camera, expression blank. Another photo, same woman, eyes wide, terrified. My breath caught. I flipped to the next page. Notes, typed, precise. Subject exhibits partial memory retention. Behavioral alignment inconsistent. Replacement stability. 63%. My hands began to shake. Daniel, I whispered. Still no answer. I flipped faster now. More images. More notes. Different people. Different faces. Same pattern. Observation. Evaluation. Judgment. Then I saw it. File. Familiar. Too familiar. Subject E. My vision narrowed. Slowly, carefully, I opened it. The first photo hit me like a physical blow. It was me. Not like the ones upstairs. Not smiling. Not casual. This one. I was sitting in the chair. On the table behind me. In this room. Eyes unfocused. Body still. Like I wasn't fully there. No, I whispered. My fingers trembled as I turned the page. More images. Progressively clearer. More aware. More responsive. Then the notes. Subject recovered after incident. Original personality degradation observed. Replacement protocol initiated. My heart stopped. Replacement. I shook my head, backing away. No, that's not. Emma. Daniel's voice. Closer now. I turned. He looked different. Not just scared anymore. Resolved. Like a decision had already been made. What did you do to me? I asked. My voice barely held together. He didn't answer immediately. His eyes flicked briefly to the file in my hands, then back to me. You weren't supposed to find it like this, he said. The words landed like a verdict. Not denial. Not confusion. Just confirmation. My chest tightened. You said I left, I whispered. He swallowed. You did. I shook my head. No, I didn't. Yes, he said quietly. You just didn't come back the same. The room spun. What does that mean? He hesitated. Just for a moment. Then, you survived, he said. But she didn't. I stared at him. The words didn't make sense. They refused to settle into anything real. You survived, but she didn't. What does that even mean? I whispered. Daniel stepped closer this time. Slowly. Carefully. Like I might break. Or run. The accident, he said. You don't remember it? I shook my head immediately. No. But something flickered. A flash of white light. A sharp sound. Glass. Then nothing. There was a crash, he continued. 3 months ago. You were driving back from the city. My breathing grew shallow. I found you, he said quietly. In the hospital. Hospital. The word echoed strangely in my head. I tried to reach for it, to grab onto something solid. But again, just fragments. You were alive, he said. But you weren't you. My stomach twisted. What does that mean? Daniel exhaled slowly. Your brain activity was unstable. Memory loss. Personality shifts. The doctor said even if you woke up. He didn't finish. He didn't have to. I wouldn't be the same, I said. He nodded. And that's when you decided to replace me? My voice sharpened. No, he said quickly. That's not how it happened. Then explain it. He hesitated. Again. Always hesitating. As if the truth had too many edges. My mom, he started, glancing briefly toward the stairs. She refused to accept it. Of course she did. Victoria. Always watching. Always knowing. She said if your body was still alive, he continued, then there had to be a way to bring you back. A cold feeling spread through my chest. Bring me back, I repeated. We tried everything, he said. Therapy, stimulation, memory triggers, nothing worked. You just looked at me like I was a stranger. My heart pounded. That's not. It is, he said quietly. And this time, he didn't look away. The weight of it pressed down on me. Heavy. Crushing. Because somewhere deep inside, felt possible. So what did you do? I asked. My voice was barely steady. Daniel didn't answer right away. He looked at the table. At the chair. At the file in my hands. Mom had a theory, he said finally. Of course she did. She said memory isn't just in the brain, he continued. It's in behavior. Habits. Patterns. I remembered the notes upstairs, the observations, the details. So she started documenting you, he said. Everything. Before the accident. My grip tightened on the file. And then, I whispered. And then we used it, he said. The room went silent. To rebuild you. The words landed like something final, irreversible. My vision blurred slightly. No, I said. No, that's not possible. It is, he said. We guided you. Reintroduced routines. Reinforced behaviors. Like training, I said. He flinched. Like recovery, he corrected. I laughed. A short broken sound. Recovery. I repeated. You watched me. Tested me. Compared me to notes like I'm some kind of experiment. His silence said everything. You replaced me, I said. No, he said again, more firmly this time. We brought you back. I shook my head slowly. You don't even hear yourself. A long pause. Then quietly. You're here, aren't you? The question hit harder than anything else. I looked down at my hands, and my body, at the space I occupied. Was I here? Or was I just something that looked like her? And if I'm not her? I asked. Daniel didn't answer. That was the problem. He didn't need to. Because for the first time, I was starting to believe it too. I couldn't breathe. Not properly. The air in the basement felt too thin, too heavy at the same time. Like it didn't belong to me. I want to see her, I said. Daniel stiffened. What? The real Emma. I continued, my voice gaining strength with each word. If you're telling the truth, then where is she? A long pause. Too long. My heart started pounding again. Daniel, I said, sharper now. Where is she? He looked at the floor. At the table. Anywhere but me. That's not something you need to. Say it. The words came out cold. Controlled. Different. Even I heard it. His jaw tightened. She didn't make it, he said quietly. The world seemed to stop. No, I whispered. She was alive for a while, he continued. But the damage, it was too much. I shook my head, stepping back. No, that's not what the file said. His eyes flicked up. Too quickly. He knew exactly what I meant. Replacement protocol initiated, I said, my voice trembling now. That doesn't sound like someone who died. Silence. You're lying, I said. No, he replied, but there was no conviction behind it. Then show me. Another pause. And this one felt like a breaking point. Slowly, reluctantly, Daniel turned and walked toward the far side of the basement. I followed, every step heavier than the last. There was a door, not like the others. Metal, reinforced, locked. My stomach dropped. What is that? Daniel didn't answer. He just reached into his pocket, pulled out a key. The sound of metal against metal echoed sharply as he unlocked it. My pulse roared in my ears. You said she was dead, I whispered. No response. The door opened. Slowly. Darkness inside. Thick. Silent. Daniel stepped aside, not looking at me. See for yourself, he said. I hesitated, every instinct screaming at me to stop, to turn around, to walk away. But I didn't. I stepped inside. The air was colder here, sharper, like stepping into something preserved. There was a bed, simple, clinical, and someone lying on it. My breath caught. She looked like me. Not similar, not close, exactly. Same face, same hair, same body. But still, too still. Machines surrounded her. Quiet, blinking lights. A slow, steady rhythm. Alive. No, I whispered. My legs felt weak. This isn't real. I stepped closer, drawn in, unable to stop. Her eyes were closed. Her chest rose and fell faintly, barely noticeable. I reached out, my hand shaking. And just before I touched her, her eyes opened. I froze. They were mine. Exactly mine. But different. There was something in them. Something distant. Something broken. Her lips parted slightly. A faint sound escaped. Not quite a word. Not quite a breath. And then, very softly, "Help me." The voice was mine. I stumbled back. No, this isn't. Behind me, Daniel spoke. Quiet. Defeated. "She's what's left," he said. I turned to him slowly. My heart racing. My mind collapsing in on itself. "You said she died." I said, "She didn't come back." The difference hit me like a blow. I looked between him and the woman on the bed. Between what was and what I was supposed to be. "Then what am I?" I whispered. Daniel didn't answer. 'Cause now, he didn't have to. The answer was lying right in front of me, breathing, waiting, and asking for help. I couldn't take my eyes off her, off me. The rise and fall of her chest was shallow, uneven, like every breath was something she had to fight for. "She's conscious?" I asked. My voice sounded distant again. Daniel hesitated. Sometimes. "She wakes up," he said. "But she's not fully there." I swallowed hard. The woman on the bed, my face, my body, shifted slightly. Her fingers twitched, then stilled again. "Why is she here?" I whispered. The question felt too small for what I was seeing. Daniel exhaled slowly. "Because we couldn't let her go." I let out a hollow laugh. "You said she was gone." "She was," he said. "In every way that mattered." My gaze snapped back to him. "Not to her," I said, pointing. He didn't respond. A sharp anger rose in my chest. Hot. Sudden. "Do you hear yourself?" I demanded. "She's alive, Daniel." "Barely." "That's not your decision to make." His expression hardened slightly. "You didn't see her before," he said. "You didn't see what she became." I turned back to the bed. Slowly. Carefully. As if the movement itself might break something. Her eyes were still open, watching me, not fully focused, but aware enough. I stepped closer again, ignoring the tightness in my chest, ignoring Daniel, ignoring everything except her. "Can you hear me?" I asked softly. Her gaze shifted, locked onto mine. For a moment, it felt like looking into a mirror, but not a clean one, a cracked one. Her lips parted again. A faint sound escaped. Strained. Painful. "You." My breath caught. "I'm here," I said quickly. "I'm right here." Her brow twitched. Confusion. Recognition. Something deeper. "Not." The word barely formed, but I heard it. Clear enough. "I'm not what?" I asked. My voice trembled. Her eyes filled with something. Desperation. "Me." The room tilted. I staggered back slightly. "No." Behind me, Daniel moved. "Emma." "Don't," I snapped. My heart pounded violently now. "She knows," I said. Daniel didn't respond. "She knows I'm not her," I continued, my voice rising. "She just said it. She doesn't know what she's saying." That didn't sound confused. I turned on him. "You lied," I said. His jaw tightened. "I didn't lie. You said she was gone." "She is." "No," I said, shaking my head. "She's right there." Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Fracturing. Then quietly. "She can't live like this," he said. The words landed like a threat. I stared at him, cold realization spreading through me. "That's what this is about, isn't it?" I said slowly. "You didn't bring me back." He didn't answer. "You replaced her," I said. Still nothing. "And now," I swallowed, my voice tightening. "Now you're deciding which one of us gets to stay." His silence confirmed everything. A wave of fear hit me. Sharp. Clear. I looked back at the woman on the bed. At the real Emma. Broken. Trapped. Still fighting. And for the first time, I understood something terrifying. I wasn't just standing in front of her. I was standing in her place. And if I didn't do something, I wouldn't be standing here for long. I didn't realize I was shaking until my hands started to hurt. Not from fear. From how tightly I was clenching them. She deserves a chance, I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Daniel didn't respond. He just stood there, watching me with that same conflicted expression. Like he had already made a decision and was waiting for me to catch up. To what? He asked finally. To live, I said. He let out a slow breath. She's not living, Emma. Stop saying that. It's the truth. No, I snapped, stepping closer to him. It's the version of the truth that makes this easier for you. His jaw tightened. You don't understand what you're asking. Then explain it to me. Silence. Then, she's deteriorating, he said quietly. The words hit harder than anything else. What? Her brain function keeps dropping, he continued. Every time she wakes up, it's worse. Less awareness. Less control. I glanced back at the bed. At her. At me. She just spoke, I said. Barely, he replied. And you saw it, she's in pain. My chest tightened. And what about me? I asked. He hesitated. You're stable, he said. The word felt clinical. Detached. Stable, I repeated. Yes. Like a system, I said quietly. He didn't answer. That's how you see me, isn't it? I continued. Not as your wife. As something that works. That's not fair. Isn't it? I gestured toward the bed. You kept her alive just enough to study her. And then you built something better. I didn't build you, he said. Then what did you do? I demanded. Another pause. Then, I helped you become functional again. The phrasing made my stomach turn. Functional. Not whole. Not real. Just usable. A soft sound came from behind me. Weak. Strained. Help. I froze. Slowly, I turned back. She was looking at me again. Eyes unfocused. But trying. Still trying. Her fingers twitched weakly against the sheet. Reaching. Not far. Not enough. Please, she whispered. My chest cracked open. Daniel stepped forward. Don't, he said. I ignored him. I moved to the bed. Took her hand. It was cold. Fragile. Real. Her grip tightened just slightly. But enough. Her eyes locked onto mine. And for a moment, just one moment, there was clarity. Don't let him. The words barely formed, but they were there. I felt it. Deep. Unmistakable. Fear. Not confusion. Not pain. Fear. Of him. I turned slowly. Daniel had stopped moving. Watching. Waiting. What were you going to do? I asked. My voice was calm now. Too calm. He didn't answer. That's why you brought me down here, I continued. Not to explain. Not to tell me the truth. A beat. To make me understand. His silence confirmed it. You wanted me to see her like this, I said. So I'd agree. A flicker in his expression. Almost regret. It would be kinder, he said quietly. The word made something inside me snap. Kinder. I repeated. I looked down at her. At the hand still holding mine. At the faint, fragile life still fighting to stay. Then back at him. She's still here, I said. And so am I. A long silence stretched between us. Heavy. Final. You can't have both, he said. The words settled into the room like a sentence already decided. I nodded slowly. I know, I said. Then I tightened my grip on her hand. And made my choice. I held her hand tighter. For a moment, everything went quiet. Not the room. Not the machines. But something deeper, like the world had narrowed down to just three things. Her. Him. And me. You can't have both. Daniel's words echoed in my head. I believed him. That was the worst part. I looked down at her again. At the real Emma. Her breathing was uneven now. Slower. weaker. But her eyes, still fighting, still there. I won't let you do this, I said. My voice didn't shake anymore. Didn't need to. Daniel stepped forward. Emma, don't call me that, I cut in. He froze. I don't know who I am, I continued quietly. Maybe I'm her. Maybe I'm not. I swallowed. But she is. A long silence stretched between us. You think this is mercy? I asked. He didn't answer. I nodded slowly. Then you've been lying to yourself. His expression hardened. This isn't about me. No, I said. It never was. I gently released her hand. For a second she tightened her grip, like she didn't want to let go. I'm still here, I whispered to her. Her eyes flickered, just slightly. Then I stood, turned, and walked past Daniel. Where are you going? He asked. I didn't stop. To end this. Behind me I heard his footsteps. Fast. Panicked. Emma, wait. I reached the control panel on the wall. I had seen it earlier, without realizing it. Switches. Monitors. Power. Don't touch that, he said sharply. I turned back to him. For the first time, I saw it clearly. Not fear for me. Not love. Control. If she dies, he said, you don't know what happens to you. The words settled in. Heavy. Real. I didn't know. And that was the truth. Maybe I would collapse. Maybe I would disappear. Maybe I would finally understand what I was. But none of that mattered. Then I guess we'll both find out, I said. And I flipped the switch. The machines behind me went silent. The steady rhythm, gone. Daniel lunged forward. What did you do? But I didn't move. I just stood there, listening, waiting. Seconds passed. And I knew she would walk out of this room. But I wouldn't. Because this story was never meant for both of us. She looked at me, confused, searching. Who are you? She asked. I smiled, softly. I'm the part of you that refused to disappear. And as she took her first step toward the door, I felt it. That quiet unraveling inside me. Not painful, not violent. Just release. Like something that had finished its purpose. The last thing I saw was her walking past him, into the light. And for the first time, I knew exactly who she was. And exactly what I was not.